Now we're Hi, good afternoon. This is the Wild and Soulful podcast, and we are taking the podcast to video as well. So you'll be able to watch this on YouTube. So if you are listening right now from Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can actually see us if you head on over to YouTube and check us out. But today we have the most amazing guest. She's been on our podcast before. She was on a couple of months ago, February, and we did an episode on leading with heart, soulful leadership with Sonya Martin. So we're so excited to have Sonya with us today. And I just want to just introduce you because you just have the most amazing spirit about you, but you're also very successful and a powerhouse in the corporate world. So you are an accomplished executive coach with extensive experience leading leadership development teams for major corporations, including Dish and Lululemon. Sonya is also a published author, a dynamic public speaker. She's just dynamic in general, and a former grade school teacher. Sonya's lifelong passion for teaching began in childhood. It started with her dolls and her younger brother and has evolved into a career dedicated to developing leaders. For nearly 3 decades, Sonya has worked tirelessly to shape organizational culture, inspire positive change, and ignite passion in others. Her commitment to empowering individuals and fostering growth has made her a trusted voice in leadership development and cultural transformation. So, welcome, Sonya. Thank you for being with us again. We love anytime we get to spend with you, of course.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We love getting to spend time with you for sure. Uh, I'm just thinking, this reminds me of in COVID, when we did um, what
Book club? We did book
book
club.
club. Thank you.
The book
Yeah.
club. Yes. Yes.
Why could I not get
I
book
like
club?
the
I'm not sure. When we did
That
book
got me
club,
through. That got me through COVID. I'm not gonna lie.
yes.
yes.
Oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
so there were times when it was just the three of us, and then there were other people
Mhm.
that would join, but we were on Zoom chit-chatting away about different books. And so this just feels so at home. And that's what
Yeah.
anytime I think of you, Sonya, you just feel like home.
Mhm.
And I know
Mhm.
that I mean, I know so many people share that same sentiment, is that when they're in your company, in your presence, you just feel like home. You are
Mhm.
uh, you are calming for the nervous system. So it's,
Uh, and I just want to say I think the wonderful thing about it is that I tend to attract people who have that same thing, and you all are home. You're home for me, and you've been able to help me get very clear about things, help me like just get kind of back into my body. I was out of my body. And so thank you all. It's so good to be here.
Well, can I just share? So I'm reading this book called The
Mhm.
Journey of Souls, and I'm sorry, my dog
Mm,
is chewing on a bone right next to me. The Journey of Souls is it's a hypnotherapist who he
mm,
through hypnotherapy sessions with clients discovered he could go to like the space after a life,
mm,
and ask questions to the soul. And
mm.
when you say feels like home, like the book really describes like where we go and what it's like, and the energy of that. And like that's how I would describe you, is that like
Mm.
that home for our soul, our spirit. So thank you.
Oh, I love that. That's completely intentional. That's my hope for life, that I could be
You're
a
doing it.
place of comfort for people. Thank you. Thank you for that.
well, today we wanted to talk about intuition
Mm,
and your intuition specifically. And I think over the years that we've known you, we've had so many conversations with you about intuition and listening to
mm,
our bodies and listening to what comes from within,
mm,
because we are also knowledgeable about our own bodies and our own life. And it just takes a little
mhm,
bit of time to really develop and trust our own intuition, because we are, so bombarded with so many things that will tell us otherwise. And to really have a practice of listening to what comes from within. And I think it's hard. I mean, Kristen and I were on the phone before this call, and, I was sharing with her something about my life. And so we're still in this, and it's like, we'll be in this, I think, for our lifetime, and understanding this and really figuring it out. But I think in these conversations, it can help us become a little bit more clear. We can have an aha moment. And I think
mhm,
especially it allows us to feel not alone. And I feel
Yeah.
like so many times we all feel like we're alone on this island of like trying to figure out this crazy life
Yeah.
that on this planet right now and just in our bodies and what's going on. And I think that it's it's a gift to really learn about ourselves and to listen
Mhm.
and to do that. And you just so yeah, so we've had so many conversations with you about this over the years, and I just think you're a light in this realm
Mhm.
of listening to your intuition and letting it guide you in your life. I mean, you're just this like beaming example of it. And when I say that, it probably sounds like, oh, you have it all figured out. And we all know, right, that
Mm.
maybe you
Yeah.
don't, maybe you do, but it's also been a journey for you, right? And so to
Mhm.
be in this space of, we'll hear from you on all of these things. And we have, some great questions for you that we want, to uh to talk about, but you have just been so open on your path of what that looks like, of the highs and the lows and the joys and the
Mhm.
grief and what that entails in developing that relationship with our own intuition and letting that ultimately guide. And you have come into your own, I feel like, in this last year, maybe 2 years of
Mhm.
just literally like, okay, like, and you are letting your intuition guide you, and it's just such a beautiful journey to witness and to be a part of with you. And so we are just very honored to be here with you today, Sonya. So,
Thank you. If I could just say in reference to that, I think there's something really, I would say powerful about what you were saying, because I think oftentimes we try to avoid the struggles of life and the hard things. And to me, it is the hard, like this past year has been one of the hardest years of my life, professionally more than anything. I think losing my mom was by far the toughest thing that I've ever experienced in life. But this past year, professionally, has been the most difficult for me. And to know that what has been the thing that has helped get me through the hardest professional year of my life has been leaning into intuition and discernment and getting clear about by getting quiet and still and not being so in my head. And that has actually been a strength. And it's like a muscle being built. And so I think there's encouragement in that, that if like this is a really hard time for people, it's like, great, like lean into something else, something that's not logical necessarily. It's more spiritual, in my opinion, and see what's present there. That it feels like a beautiful invitation. It's like when you were talking, I was like, oh, really? Good gracious, this has been a hard year. Oh my God, it's been so tough. But to know that that has been the thing that has come out of me is showing that I actually am in tune, or becoming more in tune with myself and being more intuitive. That's, it's all worth it. I love
Well,
that.
I
Thank
love how
you.
you put
Mhm.
intuition and discernment together. So could you just
Mhm.
define in your words both of those,
Yeah.
intuition and discernment?
Yeah. So for me, just and for just to make sure I come from the context of how I am and who I am. I come from a spiritual place that is couched in religion, and I am a Christian. And my experience has been the most powerful part of who I am has come through that. And so I just want to set that as a context. For me, intuition, I think people often get a gut feeling about something. People always think like, I just feel it in my gut. Or you can sense something is off or wrong, or something exciting is coming. To me, that's intuition. And I think the distinction for me for discernment is like, what do you do with it? So, like, you might feel like something is off, but discernment then is, okay, what do I do? Like, what is the action that I need to take? And so that I don't know if that's right or wrong. It's the way I hold it, because I'm able maybe to discern the decision that I need to make based on what I am sensing. And then I just have to at some point trust that. And because I've spent years and years and years of my life seeing how trusting the intuitive part of who I am, then now it's a muscle that I've built that I actually do trust that very much. It is a part of who I am. It's a part of how it's how I operate. It is probably the best part of who I am, because to me it is spirit, and it does not have to have a context. It doesn't have to have my body for it. It just is. And that to me speaks volumes to how I navigate the world. And what I've found is that when I am in my head, when I am in logic, oftentimes that is when I am making decisions that sometimes they're logical, but they're not right. Like it's a logical thing to do, but it is not the thing that like my soul wants me to do. And so to me, that's the distinction. It's like one is the sensing and one is the doing. I'm
Yes.
gonna turn on my
Good.
fan because I'm having a flash. Hi, everybody.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
I'm
Yes.
menopausal. Anyway, okay. Yes.
I love how you say you built the muscle.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Can you go a little
Mm,
deeper into that?
absolutely. So I think if I think back really far back, I was very young. And even when I remember hearing my mom talk about her childhood, I think that's kind of how we share that, my mom and I, and that I just always I could feel things, I could sense things. And for a long time I don't know, it was like a play thing and I would sense things, but I wouldn't necessarily do anything about it. It just I something would happen and I'm like, "Oh, I saw that." Or, "Oh, I thought that that would happen." Things like that. And over the years I would just notice that more and more. I think that when I was at a point in my life where I was really seeking purpose, I really felt I should probably say that this is going to be odd, but this is who I am. For a long, long time in my life, I thought I was an angel. I literally thought I was an angel. I was sent here and I had an assignment and I was just waiting for that assignment. And I was like, cannot wait to see what I'm supposed to do. And so when I was young, and I think it's from Shirley Temple. Shirley Temple hands down was my favorite, and I watched her religiously. I watched her, and there is a show where she was an angel and she was sent and blah blah blah. And so for years and years, I thought I was an angel, and so a lot of that made sense to me. Like I just had access to things, and so because I'm an angel. Then there came a point, I think probably during college and right after college, I was making really poor choices and living a really dark life and I desperately wanted whatever that assignment was, I wanted to meet it. I just wanted to be in the place where I was doing what I was here to do. And I was laying in the middle of the floor and I was drunk and I was over a friend's house. And now I call it a pity party that she was having. She had all of her friends over and I was laying in the middle of the floor and I was just like, I just need purpose. I need to know what I'm supposed to do. And then out of my mouth I said, I just need a good church, which is odd because I didn't grow up in church. My mom didn't go to church, but I just need a good church. And this girl said, you should come and visit with me. And I did. And I went to this church. Like I spent the night over there so I could get up. I went there and something happened that day. And I don't necessarily know that it was the church, but it was me pulling after something. And I landed in this place where the person who was speaking, the pastor who was speaking said, he was talking about pity parties and he said, and there you are laying in the middle of the floor, complaining about this and this. And something happened where I made a connection and that connection, then things just started making sense to me and the purpose that I was seeking is just it was like putting things together like, oh, okay, that's what that is and that's what that is. And I just started making these connections and the muscle that I built over the years is trusting what I saw. So I all my life had seen things or sensed things, but then started trusting it. And one really good example, I was a teacher and I was in the school and I had a horrible, horrible principal who told me I wasn't a teacher. She was like, I don't know what you are, but you're not a teacher. And I was like, oh, okay, great, great, great. And the person who was over the program was her friend. And I had had this sense that the aggression that she had toward me was because she had lost someone during that season. And she was actually grieving. She was being negative toward me, but she was grieving. And so the next day, the person who was over the program came to me because the principal had talked to her and she came in and she was just about to open her mouth in like what felt like rage. And I said, I get it. And she like kind of stopped and she was like, you get what? And I said, I like, you're hurting. And it's really actually not about me at all. And I began to tell her what I saw. I saw that she had lost, I think it was like her mom or something. As I saw that you lost your mom. And I get it, that's hard. And you're trying to hold these things and I'm not doing the thing that I need to do in this program, and that's like adding on to that. And she just began to weep, and I that was probably the first time that I actually said what I saw to someone. And over the years, that would just happen. I would see something, and then I would trust that. And what I love now, if I blend in like the professional part with that in coaching, I might sense something, and instead of naming it as a fact, I might name it as a curiosity.
Mm,
Like it seems like I'm sensing or I see this, is that off? And just allow a person to be as free to share what they want. And so that intuition has become a big part of how I navigate the world now.
That
I don't know why I'm laughing. I don't know what I think the laughter comes because it's like, oh wow, I don't know that I've ever verbalized that. I don't know that I've ever actually said that. And I was like, oh, but we're here now. We're here now.
Are people afraid of you because you're intuitive?
Some people have been.
Yeah.
I've had situations where I've had to say things that are not great to
Mhm.
people. And so sometimes people can be uncomfortable around it. Sometimes I'm uncomfortable and I don't want to say the thing. And sometimes I don't even have to. But I think that it's uncomfortable for people. But I think what people cannot deny, I don't know the thing. Like it's not a mental thing. And so they know that I don't know. Or they might ask, like, who have you been talking to? I'm like, I don't know, nobody, I don't know you. But so it can be uncomfortable, I think, for people. But I think more than anything, it's a shock to the system initially. And so
Yeah.
it's like almost like it bypasses fear and goes to this like, wait, like how do you know that? And so that, yeah, that's been my experience.
Mm. I'm just taking it all in. Um I think where my mind's going right now, Sonya,
Mhm,
is in listening to you is can you speak to um in the past with your experiences and how you've developed this over time, and can you speak how this may or may not, in your opinion, be related to nervous system and nervous system
mm,
regulation or dysregulation,
mhm,
and how that plays into listening to our intuition and
mhm.
the connection between the two, if at all, in your
Yeah. Yeah. I think that there's a huge connection. I think everything is connected, if I'm honest. I think everything is connected. And I think one of the things that I was really clear about, even as I was just sitting and listening to you, is that there's a ground level version of this. Like, I think my experience that I shared is probably like, whoa, like, I don't know that, like, somebody might be listening and saying, I don't experience that. And I don't even know if I believe that. And that's totally fine. I think the thing that if I bring it down to the ground level and look at how we are experiencing life on a day to day and how we are going through and the things that we're trying to navigate. We are navigating those things inside of intuition, inside of our nervous system. And I do believe, and I'll just speak for myself, this last year that was difficult, I think the difficulty of it, my nervous system was impacted because I wasn't trusting my gut, because I
Mm.
wasn't I was focusing on maybe fear. I was making fear-based decisions, saying like who am I if I don't do this thing that I always do? And who am I if what this thing is saying that I am, who am I if that is actually true? And so I was so busy pushing up against it that I wasn't actually getting still and quiet enough to actually sense what is my body saying and what is my like what happens if I get quiet and if I slow down, what happens if I get out of my head and my thoughts and my ability, we have defense mechanisms where we want to fight flight. I think fawn is a new one where you just kind of there's freeze, but I think I don't forget what fawn is. But what happens when I kind of try to remove myself from that defense, that automatic desire to defend myself and just get into a place where I can just get I consider it like empty, but I don't know that it's empty, but I get still enough to where I can actually consider how is my nervous system. Because I think if I don't slow down enough to consider it, my nervous system is being impacted. And I know it from my body. I know it from like maybe I'm getting headaches. Maybe I'm eating more than I wanted to eat. Maybe I have behaviors that's telling me that my nervous system is off, but I'm not slowing down enough. Actually listen to what my body is saying that it actually needs. And so to me, I think they're connected, they work together. Um, and I think to me, when my nervous system, like right now, I think my nervous system is regulated because I'm intentionally doing things to make sure it is. because, and I made a decision a few months ago that fosters this. And to me, that decision was intuitive. I knew something was wrong, and I kept saying, I'm not well, I'm not well. And I knew I wasn't well. And that wasn't just what I felt in my body, it's what I sensed. It's what I sensed in my being that I was not well. And so that intuition led me to make a choice that to me regulated my it's allowed me to regulate my nervous system. So I
Mm.
hopefully that makes sense. So to me, they work together.
And it's um, when the nervous system, so what I'm hearing you say too, it can go both ways. So when the nervous
Hmm.
system is dysregulated, we have a hard time
Hmm.
listening to our intuition.
Yeah, I
And then when
think
we have a
so.
hard
Yeah.
time listening to our intuition, that causes more, like when we don't, I guess, when we don't listen to our intuition,
Hmm.
then that
Yeah.
causes more strain and stress on the nervous system because we're not
Yeah.
moving in the path that our soul feels called to move in
Totally.
and go in. And so it's almost like
Yeah.
this, like almost
Yeah.
a cycle.
Yeah. And
So-
it's interconnected. So it's a cycle that's interconnected, and it's almost like a web. In my, like the way that I see it, it's like a web. And I often think like I used to have this study that I would do around like when I was dealing with my hunger, because I've struggled with, like, I won't call it an eating disorder because it's never been identified as that, but probably is. And I would have to say, like, do you have head hunger? Do you have heart hunger? Are you actually hungry? And
Mhm.
slow down enough to actually identify that. And that makes a difference, right? And I think it's that same thing. It's like, okay, what is happening right now? Is this something that I need information? Is there head knowledge that's missing? Is it like, is there an emotional hole that is like causing me to do these things? Or like, I don't know, is it spiritual? Is there something spiritual that I need to actually tap into? I think just slowing down enough to even ask the questions, I think, is one step closer to the
Mhm.
supporting nervous system regulation.
Mhm.
And of course, I should say, this is not from I'm not a professional, like a master of nervous system. I don't know. This is 100% experience. I want to say that just in case somebody thinks I'm like
Your lived
Dr. Martin.
experience, though, that
Not
matters.
yet.
Matters.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah.
So what you just said spiritual, and what is your take on, because when I think of intuition, when I think of my intuition and I think of the things that I see and sense and feel and hear and um that intuition is like I can't be intuitive unless I'm connected to something greater than myself.
Yeah.
Like if I'm just Kristen in my own body and my own life drama, like I can't
Yeah.
feel the intuition the same. So for me,
Mhm.
it's like this act of like, okay, and you said it, like I need to slow down, I need to get quiet, I need to get
Mhm.
still. And for me, it's like opening up into like something greater. Is that how you would
100%.
describe it?
Oh yeah. 100%. I think it really is probably what brought up kind of when I became most intuitive is when I connected to God for me. And the access that I have now is second to none. I have and for me it's relationship. And so I live my life in such a way that I am really, really guided by spirit, because outside of that, everything is very natural. Everything is very transactional, even everything. But when I'm connected to spirit, it's very organic. And then I'm surrounded by these plants, and I can feel like there's a different way of living when when you connect to something that's bigger and higher and greater than you, that you cannot. I don't know. There's some things I can never explain. I could never explain some things, but it's how I operate in the spiritual realm. And I just have such an appreciation for it. And I think I can speak to what life was like before I was connected in that way. I know what that life was like. And I had great times, but it was purposeless. I was doing the things and I was living, but I wasn't living a life that had a lot of purpose. It was like day to day. And yeah, so for me, it was life changing.
One thing we get asked a lot is, how do you know? So if I'm having an intuitive thought of like, say I'm in the
Mm,
city and it's nighttime and I'm about to turn down this alley and I get something that's like, don't turn down that alley. Is that
mhm.
intuition or is that fear? And what's the difference?
Oh, great question.
Answer. How would you
Oh, great
answer
question. Yeah. I, for me, I'll just say it is the distinction between where did it originate? Did it originate in your mind, or did it come from somewhere you cannot actually put your finger on? And I have a really great example of that. My partner T and I, we were at the park and we had our nephew, and T was swinging him on the swings, and my back was looking at them, but I could feel something behind us, and I was just like, "Ooh." And I was like, T, like, get him. We need to go. Like, and I felt danger. Like, but I felt danger rushing in, and I could not. All I could do, I could feel it. I was like, we should go." And by the time she slowed the swing down and got him out, we turned around, and there was someone running top speed toward us. And I told her, I said, "We just be still. Like, just be still." And the person ran, and then he stopped right in front of us, and we were able to see then that he had a mental disorder, and he started rocking, and he was really, really activated. And I told T, and again, some things I cannot explain, I just know it. Like, I knew I could feel it, and I hadn't turned around or anything, but I knew I could feel it coming. And then uh, and I said, this is his swing. He wants this swing. We just need to go. He wants to swing. And as soon as we walked away, we turned around and looked, and he started swinging on a swing. And so, to me, and that might be different than intuition. Like, I might be talking about something different, but I think if I just boil it down to, if you have a sense of something, trust that. Just trust it. If you turn around and walk away, what do you lose from that? You know, but I do believe that we know when it's fear. We know when it is from a lived experience. We know when it's a reminder that something happened, and it reminds us of that. We know that. And so if it just came out of nowhere, like, oh, I just don't think I should probably do that. Trust that. And to me, that's how you build the muscle. You build the muscle by trusting those little hints and nudges of that. Um, because it just, for me, that is the beginning workings of it. And I'll say this, I think, because I believe I was born with this ability to sense that. I think we're all born with this ability to sense. It's almost like a spectrum, probably. Again, I don't know, just in my head, it's like a spectrum. And to me, it's like, how much do you want to actually lean into it and actually see, like, what's possible or what's present? And to me, I think because I leaned all the way in and grabbed a hold of it as a part of who I am, I experience it a lot. And I think it's just, so I think it is not because I'm like, something special or something. I think it is because I choose to lean in and intentionally build that muscle. And so it could be fear, but I do think you can also discern that. You can know, like, I'm afraid because I was attacked in an alley before, and I'm scared when I go in an alley. You know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you. I do think we all have all of these
Yeah.
gifts and it's just a matter of working with them. And we actually did a retreat last year, I think, and the whole theme of the retreat was it's the Soul's Compass, which is a program we've developed.
Yeah.
And north is inner knowing, so it's that like deep inner knowing, and east is
Mm.
intuition. So east is like
Oh, wow.
the nudges and the messages that come in to guide you.
Mm.
And then south is desire, so
Mm.
South be you're like really living from a place of letting desire move you, and then West is action. So taking action
Mm.
on the inner knowing, the intuition, and the
Mm.
desire. So yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Oh,
I love that. I
we
was
have a
not
book.
at that retreat.
We do have a book coming
Mm.
out about it, and we are going to do
Yes.
another retreat on the Soul's Compass because
Good.
it was so powerful that half of the group we all got a compass tattoo
I
after the retreat
do
together.
remember.
Yeah.
I do remember that. I love
Yeah,
that.
because it was
Yeah.
like it was moving, like just work doing that work
Yeah.
and like really connecting to that is
Yeah.
it's really powerful.
Yeah. I love that. I think there's something about, I just feel the need to say, I'll say it. There's something about, like, sometimes people resist things that feel, like it seems like, maybe scary or something. It's like resist, or it seems against a religion that you believe in. And I just encourage people to consider. I don't know that there even is a religion that does not include a very spiritual aspect of it. Like it's like there's always this aspect of having a spiritual connection. And there's something to me, it's just a better way to navigate life in this space. That's just my, yeah, it's my opinion.
And can you speak to that a little more? Because from you were
Ah,
a pastor, is that
a
correct?
minister. Yeah.
Minister?
I was a minister in my church. Yeah. People would say pastor, but
How do you distinguish, like, because we do get that question a lot too. Like,
mm,
how do you reconcile this?
yeah,
Because I agree, I mean, I
yeah,
1,000% agree with you, but for
mm,
those listening who might struggle with the reconciliation of that, what would
yeah.
you say?
Yeah, great question. Because it took me a long time because I had a fear of kind of like new age thinking,
Mhm.
and I didn't want to fall into a way of being that unearthed what I believed. And so I was very hesitant to even consider anything outside of what fit into the box of religion that I had been trained in, even not just grew up in it. Well, and I say grew up, not like my the formative adult years from like when I graduated from college through today. It's been this space. And what I learned is that there was some things that had been anchored in my understanding of my relationship with God that wasn't actually true. And that's just true. And so there's someone used to always say all truth is God's truth. And I was like, oh, okay, let me examine that. And so for me, what I love in this space that I'm in now is that I get to experience um a real living God
Mm.
that is a spirit being that I have access to. I get to experience that. And I experience it in every environment. I was with my dad a couple of weeks ago, and he wanted me to have a Quran, and I got one from him. And just the opportunity to be able to just explore, just to open up and to not be so closed to me. And Dr. King says a man who knows one religion knows no religion. And so there's this distinction between being so closed that you're not open to even know why you're no, like why you're saying no. You don't have a reason for it other than it's the wrong thing to do. But to open yourself up allows you the opportunity to be able to say like what it is for you. And I think for me, that's where I am now. Like I know I'm very rooted, I'm very grounded. I know who and whose I am. And so I can experience and not that I'm in agreement with everything. Like there's some environments that I'll go into and they'll do things that I'm not in agreement with it, but I bring my God with me everywhere I go. And so for me, I don't have that challenge. And so I'm able to freely eh, two things. One, I'm able to freely be expressed the way that I know to be. And people who may not be Christians can see me and see light in me because I'm open and I'm not closed to having opportunities. And I think the second thing is that I believe very strongly that there are these connections that we're supposed to make. And I think that the way that I lived my life previously, when I was really in a very religious space, um, people couldn't have seen my light if they tried because I was closed. I wasn't even available for people to see light from me, and it had to look a certain way. And so for me, I think it just has. I don't know. I think that I don't know. I think there might need to be some sort of moment that a person has where they're open to consider. Like I don't think it necessarily a person has to be willing to consider like what might it look like for me to consider something that is outside of what I what like is the thing that I am like anchored in, what might be possible. And for me, like say for instance, I would like because people from my old church would probably say I shouldn't do yoga. I shouldn't say namaste or, like have real challenges with that. And for me, I have the most incredible spiritual encounters with God in yoga. Like I
Yeah.
have beautiful encounters with the Lord. And so for me, because again, I who I am, like to me, he's in me. And so I'm not open to other things. I'm not open to like other deities. I know exactly who my relationship was with. And so I can feel safe to go anywhere with him. and I just bring them with me. And then what I found, if you think about like how we started this, is that people who might not actually be Christians can see me and to see the light that is in me because I'm open to that. And to me, that's the distinction. And I don't know. I think it's a little controversial, maybe, but I don't know. It's how I've been able to live my life. Yeah.
Mm. I love that. I love the explanation around that and the insight or the thoughtfulness that you bring to that. And I think too, what I've been thinking about is that this since the inception of Wild Souls Yoga, and this is now it's years and years and years now that Chris and I have been on this whatever path we've been on, right?
Mm,
Of figuring out. I don't, we just, I mean, we've spent countless hours in conversation about the how and the why and the where and what is this and what is that and how do we do this and
yeah.
how do we do that and all of these things. And I think for somebody, I'm very type A, I'm moving
Mhm.
away from the type A, situation, but I'm very type A and like to control everything. Um, um, and I'm trying to control my dog right now, and I can't. He's gonna start barking at me, but here we are. But anyway, when we want to control everything, and intuition feels so like
Mhm.
out of body, and which it's not, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess maybe there's an aspect of that, but how, like, I don't know. I think when we want to try to control everything, and we can't
Yeah.
necessarily control how we feel or what comes up or how we should, listen from the, because it comes very much mind, right? So I'm going to mute myself because my dog is going crazy. But like that, I think has been a thing for me more so even than what I would feel that, conversations with Kristen.
He has something to say.
You need to
You
take that
know?
dog for a walk.
He is, yes, he needs to go on a walk. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, I think I agree. Like I think that I was talking to a person from my church yesterday. We were having coffee and we were talking about just our experience with the church and our experience in our, with our spiritual life. And one thing that we were talking about is how there is a distinction between religion and having a spiritual life. Like there's a distinction, and people will try not to say that that is true, but it is true, and it is even true in the Bible, right? Like it is. There's a distinction that is. There are people who are letter of the law and believe that things have to be a certain way, and if it's not that way, then it is wrong. And there were very clear lessons from Jesus if Christianity is the thing that you are in, where he was speaking against that. And I think it's easy to see that and disregard it and then think, well, that's not the same as it is today. But what's different about that today? Like what's different about it? And so I think and one thing that I'm in a group on Saturdays, and we have a Bible study, but it's one of my favorites because it's just a conversation. We just have conversations. And the conversation is around love. And like, is love present? Yes or no? And to me, that is the ultimate spiritual, like that is the ultimate in a spiritual experience. Is love present? And if love is present, what are you questioning? What is the thing that is causing you to want to combat something that has love at its core? And I think that's the thing that is a real distinction, because I think about ways that I was when I worked inside of a very strict religious way of being. Love, I don't believe was as present. I think right and wrong was what was present. Like, is it right or wrong, period? And if it was right, then great. If it was wrong, but it was difficult to see where love was in it. And so I think that's just a big conversation that we've been having lately. And to me, it is the biggest, most beautiful expression of the spiritual realm, like the space of love and compassion and kindness and generosity from a really like an outpouring. Like those are to me, those are the attributes. And the, so here's another example. I'm a storyteller. That's what I do. So when I lived in Texas, there was I think it was Hurricane Katrina, And so there were all of these people who were unhoused and they were coming from Louisiana into Texas. And so there were people who were letting people into their homes from a religious space. And so they were opening up their home religiously because that's the right thing to do. And what was happening from that space is they were getting robbed. Some people got like, like there were, because it was not intuitive. It was from a, this is the right thing to do. But had they been intuitive, they might have sensed that there might be, and not everybody had, that behavior, but there were opportunities for people to pause and make an intuitive decision and not do the thing that felt like the right Christian thing to do. And I think that is a really good example because, like when I have a real sense right now for unhoused, there's a tug at it that is just, I don't know, is really very, it feels very intuitive to me. Like, there are some people I will not stop for. I know that is not, I'm not supposed to. But here's one more example, and then I'll be done with my stories maybe. Um, there's this big, beautiful building on 120th that I love. And I was going that direction and I wanted to go right. And there's a restaurant across the street from it. Before I left the house, I decided to put, and I might have said this before, I don't know if I did. Sorry for the redundancy, but I put a bag together. There was no, I don't know why, but I had a bag and it had sweets on it, which is my nickname. So it had sweets on it. And in the bag, I had a beautiful gray and green sweater and it was like all the way down and it was a little bit chilly. And so I put that in there, some water, and then I did a greeting card and I wrote a note on it and I put a couple of shirts and things. Anyway, so it's a big bag. I put it in the car and I was like, I'm supposed to give this to somebody. I don't know who. So I go to I'm on my way to this restaurant and I make a wrong turn, like, which is my habit apparently. And so, but I don't know that it was a wrong turn anyway. So I go, and so I'm behind the buildings and there's someone curled up on the sidewalk with a cart next to them. And I'm like, is that, I don't know. I'm just going to keep going. And so I kept going. And then I said, I think that's who I'm supposed to give this to. And I look out of my rear view mirror and the person looks up and all I see is their eyes. Like they're all the way curled in, but I see their eyes. That's it. That's the person. So I turn around and I roll down my window and I said, "Hi, do you mind if I give you something?" And she said, "Yeah, I don't mind at all." And so I said, I have a bag. I said, "I can bring you to you." And she was like, "No, no, no, I'll get up." And so she kind of uncurled herself and she limped herself over and she's, just like she's dirty and she has all these things. And I gave her the bag and I was like, "Do you need anything else?" And she said, "No, no, I'm good. Thank you. So, thank you. Thank you." And I was like, "You're welcome." So I go to the restaurant. I spend like 2 hours in the restaurant. It's an Indian restaurant, my favorite food. I'm writing and I'm pouring out, totally forgot about the situation. I finish, I get in my car and I'm driving out of the parking lot and I look over and I see my sweater, the green, and I have a picture of this. I see my green and gray sweater. And I'm like, huh. But it it doesn't look like the person who I gave it to. And I'm just like, huh, I'm just gonna drive up and see. And so I drove up and she had put her hair in a bun and she turned around and I said, "Well, hi." She's like, "Hi, it's nice." I said, "It is." And it was the most, some- it was like she had transformed into someone and it just, but it was sweet and it was soul inspiring to me. But all of that is from intuition. None of that was like, maybe I should give it to her, maybe I should. It was just, I did go back and forth at first because I was like, safety is big for me. I'm from Flint, Michigan, and safety, I have that thing. But I felt like this is the person anyway. And so there's something about, I don't know. I went on that tangent because there's something rewarding about trusting, like like your gut, not doing it from a, this is what I'm supposed to do, like I'm supposed to do
Obligation.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, not from obligation, but because I really feel like this is,
Guided.
wait, no, this is guided. Thank you for
Yes.
that. Yeah,
No, that's
absolutely.
exactly the word I just heard was like
Yeah,
it's the
yeah,
difference between doing something external for obligation and doing something
yeah,
internal from a place of like a higher guidance.
yeah, completely.
And even
Nothing to do with like
words,
the thought process of it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, and even the words when you spoke about right and wrong,
Yeah.
it's like almost what I'm kind of processing in my brain is what like almost intuition is not right or wrong. It's like it's a
No.
place not right or wrong at all.
Mm-mm.
And
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I can get caught up. And I mean, what, look at me, what I just said, what I'm processing in my brain, like everything
Exactly.
is like, let me make
Yeah.
sense of it up here
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
I can do it out here,
Yeah.
right? And it's like the total opposite. It's like
Hmm.
moving away from that space of
Yeah.
making things make sense. And
Yeah.
I think that's the journey that I've been on is in that realm of trying to make
Yeah.
things make too much sense in my mind. um,
Yeah.
and it's from the upbringing. I mean, from the
Yeah.
religious upbringing I was in, and
Yeah.
being raised military, and
Yeah.
it's really fit into this box and don't get
Yep.
out. And
Yeah.
so unraveling that in
Yeah.
my adulthood of, hey, let me tiptoe outside of this box for a second and see
Yeah.
what happens. And that's really scary, you know?
It is.
We've been in this for
Yes.
so long, and it's like it
Hmm.
takes your breath away a little bit. And
It
so
does.
um
Yeah.
yeah, so the process of even starting to listen to our intuition is
Hmm.
it's a whole thing. It's a beautiful
It
thing.
is.
All on this call have realized in our own lives, listening to our intuition and being open to that. Um,
Hmm.
and just thinking back, it kind of, when we try anything new, like the unknown is scary, right? Like
Hmm.
the unknown, not knowing what's
Yeah.
next, not knowing this, not just the unknown. It's like, I
Yeah.
don't like that. It's very uncomfortable, right? And most people
Yeah.
don't like that space. But when we can stay open and curious about what is, just thinking about my first yoga class, and anyone's first yoga class, we talk about this. When you come into a yoga class, it's like, you're looking all over, you're like, what the hell's going on? Like,
What do I
there's
do with
what
my
is downward
body?
facing dog? What am I doing? And it just feels so uncomfortable. But it's like anything that we try that's new. It's
Mhm.
uncomfortable and it doesn't feel right. And but then you go
Yeah.
to your second yoga class and then it's like, oh, and then you go to your third and you're like, oh, and then years later you're teaching yoga and you have a yoga company. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, here we
Good job. Mhm. I love that.
So yeah.
I wonder if step one is noticing that in my brain I am processing. Do you know what I mean? Like I wonder if that's actually a really good place to start for people. Like
Mhm.
just acknowledging and not making it bad, because I don't think it's bad. Because I do an awful lot of processing. And I think there's a place for it. I think that there's some things like decisions I need to make. I think I'm starting in the intuitive space, but I think that there's processing, there's mental um muscle that I have to work in the decision making too. But there's something about like actually acknowledging like, oh wait, okay, this is happening in my head. I'm thinking about this and
Mhm.
not making it wrong. Cause I think that's that goes into that box. Because I don't know that there's right or wrong. I just think that there is. And it's like, oh, I'm just want to acknowledge that I'm just acknowledging I'm really in my head right now. I'm really processing this right now. I can feel it in my body. My heart is racing. To me, acknowledging that is intuitive, you know?
Mhm.
I don't think it's like, yeah, I don't see it as wrong.
And compassionate, like that's the word that just
Yeah,
came up for me just in
yeah,
talks, Anya, the just having compassion for ourselves. And we talk about that a
mhm,
lot in yoga, is
yeah,
being open to grace and compassion for oneself and for
mhm,
ourselves. And that's such a,
yeah,
to, so if we are caught up in the mind, it's like, hey, okay,
mhm,
that's okay that you're there, but
mhm,
we're our own worst critics for sure. It's like, whoo,
totally.
uh,
It's tough. I
yeah.
am curious. Do you mind if I ask you to? Because I named the distinction in my head for and it was in my head. It was actually a thought process around discernment and intuition. But I'd love, like, I don't know if you all have something that you could add to it just to, I don't know, because I'm not expert in it. I just have experiences in it. But I'd love if you all have something.
Yeah, to me, the intuition is it's bypassing the logical brain and really coming, and we've already talked about this, but coming into a space of being open to be guided. Um,
Mm, mm,
and I think that that's really hard in our world because of the boxes and the structure and the rigidity and the shoulds and
yeah.
I think that that is the biggest hurdle in intuition, is learning how to really trust and lean into that when it goes against the grain in a lot of ways. Because
Mhm.
I don't believe we're necessarily really taught how to be intuitive, or how to work with our, because we all have intuition, how to work with our intuition, how to trust our intuition, how to strengthen our intuition. And we're actually taught in a lot of ways the very opposite. Trust all of the structure around you, and trust, the man, so to speak, and
Yeah. Yeah.
um all of these things. And so intuition to me, like, is a relationship with God. And it's like leaning into that over everything else, and letting yourself, no matter, even if it doesn't make sense. Like, when I
Mhm.
like listening to you talk, I was like, how did I really get into my intuition? And I was in a really bad marriage. And on paper, on Facebook, if you would have looked at my life on Facebook, it would have looked great. I've had people tell me that. And inside, every day, I was like, something feels so wrong. And I would
Mhm.
catch myself and be like, what are you doing? Like, like, look at your life. Like, look at the house you live in, and the vacations that you take, and the friends that you have, and the car that you like, all of those, like, external, like, things that don't matter at all. I was basing, like, well, your life is good. Look at what you have. Stop saying that you something is wrong. Like, I would have these, like, dialogues with myself, and, like, time went on. I was in the marriage for 15 years, and I stayed way too long, and I ignored my intuition at the detriment of my own health. And it got to the point where I knew intuitively, if I did not get out of that marriage, I was not going to physically live. I was not going to physically be able to survive. And so that was like a very dramatic way for me to really hear and honor my intuition, because it was like, I have to walk away from this external life that looks beautiful, that people would kill for, and I have to walk away from it because it's not right. It doesn't feel right. It's not, I know it's not right. And it was the best decision I ever made. And then I think discernment is, it's kind of back to that fear versus intuition conversation. Is discernment to me is a practice of, and it's just that, to me it's a practice of, I feel that this is what my intuition is telling me, and leaning into that, trusting it. And then, was that right? Yes, it was. So now it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And so then I have the ability to discern if this is the ego, if this is my intuition, if this is fear, if this is some external should, is this the noise of other people's voices in my, like, meaning your people around you, like, you should do this and you should do that. Is it that? So the discernment is being able to hear all of that noise, and, like, no, this is what I'm supposed to do, because this is in alignment with me.
I love that. I love that a lot. So yeah, I'm aligned with that. I think it is, I think what I love about it is it's cool that you like, that there is an opportunity to be intuitive, to build a muscle, to discern, like
Mhm.
to do, yeah, I like there's something about that that feels really, that's
Because there's
cool.
so many things to, like, there's so many,
Hmm.
we have the processing mind, we have the voice of the ego, the Toltecs. If you read any of the Don Miguel Ruiz books, like the Four Agreements, they call it the parasite of the mind. So, like, that intrusive voice, if you will, that's like, the unhealthy inner dialogue, that's not our intuition. But sometimes we can, if we don't know any different, if we don't have the discernment, we can just listen to that voice all day long, and that voice guides us. Or the voice of our parents when they said something to us when we were 5, that voice can guide us, if it's not, like, even if it's not in our highest alignment. So it's like, I think that discernment is like, what is in my highest alignment right now? What is true?
Love to see, like pets and children, how they
Mhm.
discern. And you have to know that there's something about that that is, like when a baby just won't go to someone, not because, like they'll go to one person but not go to another one, not because they knew either of them, but
Well,
like you have to
animals.
trust
Yeah.
there's something, and animals, right? Like my
Instinct.
dog, oh my gosh. Oh, she's the smartest being I have ever met. And she was so very much, she was so intuitive. And I remember when I lost my mom, I would sit on the floor and she was like really little. Like I adopted her when she was little, and I would sit on the floor and I'd just be crying. And she would come out of her kennel and she'd come over and she'd sit in my lap. I'd be cross-legged on the floor. She'd sit and she'd look up and just let me, and she would just let me cry. Her, like, my tears would be hitting her face and she would just look and just let it. It was just just incredibly present. and like incredibly present. Almost, it felt very much like she was assigned to me for that season, for that reason. And she knew her assignment. She was very clear, like, I need to make sure you're fine. And she did a great job. And when it was time for her to move to another family, which she did, and she chose it completely. I was traveling and I would take her to this family's house. And then I went to pick her up one day and she came and she's like, ah, mom, mom, and and then she turned around and went back to them and sat next to the dad. And I was just like, oh, I said, I think she just made a choice. And they were like, no, we would never take your baby. I said, no, I think she just chose you. And they said, well, let's just test it out and see. But what I ended up finding out was the dad had just lost his mom. And and she's still with that family today.
Oh
And
my
so
God.
it's just who she was intended to be.
That
And
just gave
so
me goosebumps.
I know that's my Ellie, my Alabama Martin, Ellie girl. But it was like she's very clear about what she was here to do, what she is here to do. And so, yeah.
The interesting thing about animals, so I am a huge animal lover, have been my entire life. Like I think when I was little, I connected with dogs over humans. Just I've always been dogs and cats, all animals. But I think that like so my dogs are also very intuitive. Also have only grown up with me. They've also grown up in a very safe, structured, supportive environment, and so that intuition is so strong and keyed in. There's also like animals, if you've been around an abused animal, there's still that lack of discernment between their fear and their instinct and intuition. And I think that that plays into
So
humans
true.
too. Is like if we have,
Mhm.
we all have trauma, but like if the trauma is blocking our ability
Yeah,
to really key into our intuition, then we're going to have a problem with that discernment.
totally. I 100% agree. Yeah. I love this conversation. It was interesting. It was not what I thought it would be. I'm really glad that we have it. It's so cool.
Well, and that's I think the beauty of anytime we get together and chit chat or even in any I think Wild Souls yoga experience of whatever it is, it just flows and we talk freely and open about that, about letting things flow. And even though we're prepped and prepared with things, it sometimes takes, that's the magic, what we always talk about, the magic of whatever it is the people who come and share and all of that. And I just have to ask Sonya, if for those listening, if someone's out there listening, just and they're like, I don't know the first thing about, how do you spell intuition? If somebody out there like in that realm or somebody who knows what intuition is and is curious about it and wanting to, and in any realm out there, people listening, is there, wanting to start strengthening that. Um, what would you say? What would your advice be to them? Is there a ritual or something that you do daily that you would like to pass on? We've touched on a couple of things here
Yeah,
in the in this conversation, but is there something if you're like, nope, do like start here, do this is what I
yeah,
started with, and so
yeah.
try this, right? And it may or may not
Right.
work, who knows? We'll have to, we have to be the ones to discern that, right? If it's going to work.
Yeah.
But is there something that has tried and
Mhm.
true for you that you fully believe in that you could share with the listeners today?
Mhm. Yeah. I think that there's the thing that came to me immediately was this idea of safety. And so you want to make intuitive decisions with the context of safety, because I think that there are sometimes people will make a decision that they believe intuitively they should make, but it causes them not to be safe. And so I discourage that. And so to me, safety looks like I every morning I try every morning. I don't make it every morning, but I have a closet in my basement that I've transformed, and I call it different things. It's my prayer closet. It's my creative space. It's my secret place. It's the place where I go in and I close the door. And most of the times when I go in, I close the door and I don't turn on the light, and I leave the light out and I just sit, and then immediately I just feel this really calm, uh, beautiful. I feel helped, and I feel like I have an audience and I have the ability to bring the things that I'm concerned about, the things that I'm questioning, I'm worrying about. And so I do that regularly. And that I think has been a big part of this nervous system regulation space, just having a prior and not just a time, but a prioritized time. Like it's typically 5 o'clock. But lately, because I've been on a small sabbatical, if you will, I've allowed myself the opportunity, given myself grace to stay in bed as long as I feel like staying in bed and then get up to do it. But it's not much longer after that anyway. So there's this invitation for like quiet, like finding a way little by little to have quiet time. If you could do like 60 seconds, set an alarm for 60 seconds to just sit in silence. And silence and darkness is to me, I don't know, if that doesn't feel safe, somewhere that feels safe. I always believe being by water or being by trees, or for me, my house is full of plants, so I could sit almost anywhere in my house and feel very connected. And but my closet is my space. And then I journal a lot, and I journal. So typically, shortly after that, I have a lamp that lights a candle. It heats a candle, but it's a lamp, and so I'll turn it on so it's dim, and it still allows me the opportunity to be in that kind of meditative, quiet, calming environment. And sometimes I'll put music that I know there's certain music. There's about 3 or 4 songs that if I put it on, it takes me to a really, really deep internal space that is not like it just kind of like traveling, you know. And I love it because it gives me like access. And oftentimes I can imagine myself anywhere that I want to be, any place that I even haven't been before, but I can just get to a to me that feels flow state. And from that space I can write. And I love writing is big for me. Journal writing is huge. And I think that there's something about like if I don't feel safe to say the thing, like if a person is listening, they're like, I feel like I am intuitive, but I don't know how to say it, write it. Like put it in a journal in a safe space. I think another thing is having people in your life. Like I think almost everybody knows somebody who you would probably name as intuitive. You would say there's something about this person. They just always know stuff. I don't know how they know stuff. They just know it. Like maybe have a conversation with them and see. Um, and so yeah, those, and I think if I just put those like the things that I do in my closet, it's a ritual. It's a morning routine, and it is a way that I prioritize before anything else gets input, before social media, before anything. I am silent, and I'm greeting the day with an intention that I want to prioritize my day in a certain way. And I hope to take that into the rest of my life because it's a habit that I'm building now that is just it allows me to really, I don't know, most days like something will come up. Like I'm in a situation right now where I'm in negotiations with someone about something, and I knew, like I stood on something that intuitively I felt was the right thing to do, and I knew this person was going to reach back out today, put it on my calendar that they would, and they did first thing this morning. And so still no, but it's because I think I give myself that time in the morning to not let anything else inform my thoughts, but just to get quiet enough to be able to be sensitive. And I think that that matters. And of course, I pray, I read my Bible, but those are rituals that I've set up now and routines that I have that build the muscle for me of intuition and discernment. And I would recommend something very similar. And I think, again, I think everybody has access to something that is very similar,
Mhm.
no matter what religion, no matter what spiritual practices. There's a very similar pattern of being that I think is just supportive as a human. I
Mhm.
think is just really important.
And would you say, I know you speak of the morning, and I believe the morning is such an incredible time to do those practices because, again, it's before the influence of the day and the influence of the world for that day. But for somebody who maybe that isn't possible for whatever reason,
Mhm.
would you recommend just at some point during the
Yeah,
day that that's still better than not?
absolutely. Yeah. There was a time I worked third shift, and like I would recommend, like, if a person can only do, like, maybe they have children or they have, responsibilities, and I would recommend carving out, like, just take 5 minutes a day. This is my 5 minutes where and it doesn't really, it doesn't matter. I don't think for me, it matters. The morning really does. And it even matters for me, the time. Because if I do it at 11 a.m., it's very different than 5 a.m. So that's me. But I think if a person, I believe, like there was a quote that I think it was Oprah said something like, once you set an intention, you begin to behave in the direction of your intention. And so I don't think that it matters what time. I think I intend to do 5 a.m. And so because I behave in the direction of that intention. And so I'm
Yep.
honoring the thing that I'm intending. And so I think if you set a time and it's like 5 o'clock in the evening and it's 5 minutes at 5 o'clock, that's your intention. Head in that, like begin to head in the direction of that. And then I think the same thing will happen because you're in that. To me, that's a level of flow.
Hmm. Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. As always, an incredible conversation. Again,
Loved
just
it.
I'm
Such a
like
good
ready to
conversation.
go re-strengthen my intuition.
Yeah, me too. I feel like I
Ready
need to
to
go to my
go.
closet.
Just yes. Oh my
Birthday
gosh.
closet visit. Yeah.
It's just so fun to be in conversation with you. And I think the conversations with you always, Sonia, just um spark like I feel a spark of
Mm.
inspiration, a spark of hope,
Yeah.
a spark of, in
Mm.
those times of life where it just doesn't feel like things are, yeah, it
Mm.
just feels overwhelmed, and I know that others listening might feel that same sentiment of just like, oh, just a hope, right? And especially
Mm.
if somebody's listening in a state of just despair or challenge,
Yeah.
that's when it's even, I think it can be even more of a challenge
Yeah.
to listen in and to feel our own intuition and to just be connected to that when things are
Mhm.
hard. But you have given me hope yet again,
Mm.
always in every conversation I have with you. And
Mm.
I know you've given anyone listening to this podcast hope and just a bit of desire for something for our soul to, yeah, yeah, it's just that
Yeah.
feeling. So thank you from the bottom of
Mm.
my heart always for spending time with us and being with us in this space to just,
Mm.
yeah, be open and curious to um, more than just, you know, the,
Yeah.
the stuff of life.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So,
think just if I could just name just two things very quickly. One is I just think the hard times, it is the best time to lean in. I experientially for me, that have been the times that like it's when you need it the most actually. When
mhm,
like life is overwhelming and things are hard. The thing that you need is to be able to cling to something much bigger than you that is in control.
mhm,
And so for me, that is the invitation. It's like if it is rough, like it's not coincidental that you're watching this video. And so
mhm,
Oh,
that's the
it's life
first thing.
raft. Yeah, it's a life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love, lately I love to call things invitations because it's what it feels like. It feels like, hi, friend. Like
yeah,
it is an invitation, but it is a life raft. And the second thing is I just want to, I got teared up a little because I have an intention around inspiration. I've been doing some exploration around what inspiration is, and it has become a thing for me. And I'll call it a thing because I don't know what else to call it. But um, there's something about inspiration and from a spiritual perspective, inspiration. I think oftentimes we think it is like an emotional thing or it comes from a different place. It actually is it oftentimes is a neurological event, and this neurological event causes something. So like inspiration actually filters through, like it kind of filters through spirit, intellect, but it like the intention I think of it is to cause something to be done. And for me, what I've been doing is like when I feel inspired by something, I want to put action to it. Like I want to commit to something because I feel like there's a reason I was inspired. There was something about it that inspired me. And that literally is the anchor for which I am doing the things that I'm doing is around inspiration. And so when you said, I was like, oh, oh
You
gosh.
know that the
So thank
meaning
you
of
for
the
that.
word is to be in spirit. Inspired
Oh
is
my
in
gosh.
spirit.
That totally,
oh,
totally
Yeah.
tracks. It totally, it just, I am in love with the idea of being inspired. I wrote a book last year, Sweet's Inspiration. My nickname is Sweet, but it was through a hard time trying to figure out what to do and like how people keep gratitude journals, I
Mhm.
started finding inspiration. I started every day finding, what am I inspired by? And
Mhm.
so, of course, if you look for inspiration, you're going to find it. If you look for things to be inspired by, um, last thing that I'll share is, like someone said this past Saturday, at the very same time that you're looking at like the negative, like the thing that's hard, at the very same time, there's something inspirational. There's something in your space that you actually could be inspired by. It's in the same space, but it's just, we typically focus on the things that are like the tough things. But if we look up and just kind of pay attention, there's so many things inspiring around us. I'm inspired seeing my dad on both sides of me. I just, there's something about it. Just, ugh, filling my heart. So happy. But I think that's another invitation. Like there's always inspiration. It's just always present. And I love that it is in spirit, because spirit is always available,
Mhm.
always accessible.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Mm,
thank you for that.
Thank you. I just want to thank you for being the light. Like every time I
Oh,
am in communication with you, whether it's in person or over the phone or over Zoom, you just exude light. And I'm a believer that, we need more of that on the planet, that
hmm,
we form, in some of my meditations, I've seen this, it looks like a grid on the planet, and people have their posts,
hmm,
and
hmm,
like we all
hmm,
connect as a web of light. And so I
hmm,
just thank you for
hmm,
being that from where you are and
hmm.
what you do.
Thank you. Thank you for being a light that I can sit next to. Appreciate you too. I'm serious.
Aw.
It's hard. It's hard to find light. This world is hard. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Sonia. And just yes, it's just been such a as we have said, just an incredible conversation. And we are so excited to for the next one. I feel like this should be like a Sonia inspiration quarterly.
Oh,
The
please
sweet
invite us.
series.
A sweet things. Oh my God.
Sweet series. Oh my, it's
We
on. There's the intention. It's going. Here we are. Okay. Get ready.
will head in that direction. I'm so excited.
Yeah, yeah. We should even ask the listeners
Yeah.
too. We should ask our the whoever out there in the
Yeah.
ethos stuff.
Comment on what you
Oh,
want to know from our lovely guest,
Yes,
Sonya Sweets Martin.
yes. Woo, I love it.
I
Until
love
next
it.
time. Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, you two lovely beings have a wonderful, fabulous day. And as always, follow us on the social media platforms. We've got workshops coming up and classes and different things all the times, teacher trainings, all the things. So follow us. We'd love to see you in and around Wild Souls Yoga. So thank you. Until next time.